All right, what is going on, everybody? What is going on? Thank you very much for being here. Did not expect to have a little Saturday afternoon action with everybody here, but I'm glad to be here. Glad to break down a move from the Lakers, a move I really, really like from the Lakers. Marcus Smart signs a 2-year deal with the Lakers, gets bought out by the Washington Wizards, and here the Lakers kind of again trying to figure out ways to be creative in the offseason. And they've done it twice now already with Ayton very creatively, obviously getting a player that they desperately needed, and then now adding Marcus Smart to the mix. So thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Would love to have gone on right when this happened, but not always in a position to do that. So thank you for being here now. Whether you're watching this live or you're watching this recorded, however you're getting this over the weekend, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Would greatly appreciate it. And let's break this all down. All right, let's figure it out here. Marcus Smart, let's get the details of it, and then we'll start giving our opinion. I'll make sure to get to your guys' comments today as well. If you guys got anything, any supers that go up, 100% will get read. And obviously, if it's not a super, it's all good. I'll try to do my best to get to it anyways. Let me share my screen with everybody here. All right, here it is. Marcus Smart. Shams put this out about an hour ago. Marcus Smart has agreed to a contract buyout with the Washington Wizards, intends to sign a 2-year, $11 million deal with the Los Angeles Lakers after clearing waivers. Sources tell ESPN a return to a grand stage for the 2022 NBA Defensive Player of the Year. There's going to be a couple of themes that I have here when I'm talking about Marcus Smart. I'm going to be talking about somebody who likes to compete, and I'm going to be talking about Lakers getting tremendous value by signing Marcus Smart. So there was a little bit more to his tweet as well. Let me just add this from Shams. Let me get the other piece of it that he put here. Smart, a 3-time all-defense first-team guard, will have a player option on his new Lakers deal to enter a more flush 2026 free agency, sources said. Point of attack defender was a position of need for LA as well, with Luka Doncic recruiting and reaching out to Marcus Smart. All right, there's a little bit of the details right there. Mark Stein had put something out there as well. We'll leave that up there because it looks good. Obviously, I'm stealing this from ESPN. Mark Stein put something out there as well. He said that league sources tell Sideline Phoenix also had interest in Smart once he becomes an unrestricted free agent, but the expectation is that Smart will choose to join the Lakers as LA's third marquee offseason acquisition alongside DeAndre and Jake LaRavia. Let's calm down here on the third marquee offseason acquisition. I think we're maybe a little dramatic there. Lakers star Luka Doncic made a direct recruiting pitch to Marcus Smart this week that resonated with the veteran guard. League sources tell the Steinline after Smart's agent, Jason Glushin, was granted permission by the Wizards to explore potential post-buyout landing spots. There are the details. Now we talk about it. It's funny. I did my show yesterday, so I'm doing my show in the morning. And if you watched that show yesterday, I had Brad Turner on from the LA Times. We talked about a number of different topics. When him and I were done talking, I had a segment just on Marcus Smart. Not that I thought Marcus Smart was a lock or he was coming to the Lakers or anything like that, but I had so many of my listeners who were like, Al, what do you think of Marcus Smart? This is over the last, let's call it, week or so, which I'm not surprised at all that, obviously a lot of Laker fans, basketball fans, people on this channel are like, gotta be honest, they could find a way to get Marcus Smart. And there was just enough out there to where it's like, all right, well, this is a conversation. Let's have the conversation. But it was only going to happen if the Washington Wizards bought him out, and then he had a decision to make, obviously, what he was going to do. We had that conversation about 30 hours ago or so, and here we are today that the news officially comes out that Marcus Smart is going to be a Laker. I love this. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I'll be very blunt in how I describe it. I really, really like this move and love that Marcus Smart decided, all right, I'm going to go be a Los Angeles Laker. I'm going to go try to resurrect my career again and remind everybody of who the hell I am. Now, listen, one of the things I was mentioning yesterday with Marcus Smart, and there are areas that we're going to have to point out, he's not going to be your knockdown three-point shooter. He's basically played, I'm going to see here because I had this written down, total stats that he's played as far as availability goes. I want to say last year he played 35-ish games, somewhere around there, maybe 34 games. 34 games, the 2023-24 season, played a very minimal amount of games as well. He hasn't played a game over 60 games since 2022-2023. So, one of the things that I think is going to be very, very, very important to point out here is you just got to hope Marcus Smart's available. That's it. But if you woke up this morning and you thought to yourself, or as we're all sitting in this position right now, if Lakers got a chance to get Marcus Smart and they're getting him in the buyout market, that's a phenomenal pickup. That's a really, really good pickup. And the way the Lakers had to operate this summer, they were going to have to be very creative. And they're in a tough spot. I've said this plenty of times before. It's like Pelinka's juggling. LeBron is putting out statements through Rich Paul that, I'm trying to compete here. I understand that your future is Luka, but for all I know, this might be my final year. Figure it out. Every team out there knows that the Lakers have a lot of needs and they're desperate to try to put together a competitive team right now. They went out, at least so far this summer, got the big that they needed in DeAndre Ayton, and nobody even really thought he was going to be available. He ends up getting bought out, and they're paying pennies on the dollar to have their center for at least 1 year. Nobody's telling you that DeAndre Ayton is going to be the answer for the Lakers for the next 5 years. I don't think anybody believes that. And I think in this deal as well with Marcus Smart, again, a wildly valuable contract, 2 years, $11 million, both DeAndre Ayton and Marcus Smart will have player options for next year, which I hope we're all sitting here by the time July 1st comes around, and we're just basically saying, yep, Ayton 100% is not going to be a Laker, and Marcus Smart 100% is not going to be a Laker, or at least they're not going to pick up their player options because they both had really, really good seasons, and now they're going to be able to go out there and whether it's with the Lakers or it's another team, they're going to get another good contract because they showed their value again around the league. So the Lakers have been, I think they have, I don't think it's been a wildly exciting offseason, but they're little strategic, quiet, small moves that isn't going to be Kevin Durant, the size of Kevin Durant, or isn't going to be this just blockbuster that went down, but they're addressing their needs. They're keeping their flexibility open. They're adding players that are going to have a lot to prove this upcoming season. And they've keeping every single asset that they had walking into the summer. So far, it's a pretty good offseason. It's a pretty good offseason. And if the Lakers, if part of their goal, this year or these next couple of years is to have that flexibility, not to get, burdened with these contracts that you're saying to yourself, like, oh my gosh, the Lakers are going to be in this contract forever. There's a top free agent that wants out and Lakers have no movement to go try to get him. Now they're actually in a position where that flexibility still exists. They're giving themselves a lot of options. And to be honest with you, they're putting some players together that I think will make sense, that will be able to jive. I want to talk a little bit about the Marcus Smart that I know, the Marcus Smart that I watched in this league for, I think right now, I know he's 31 years old. What is he in the league? Is this his 10th, 11th season? Something along those lines. 10th, 11th, something like that. I know he got in the league. He was drafted by the Boston Celtics when he was 20. But let me remind everybody, because I think some people have forgot about this. Why have they forgot about it? They forgot about it because he hasn't been on a competitive team in a really long time. So let me help remind people a little bit about the Marcus Smart that a lot of people on here that are watching, how they view or how they know Marcus Smart in the NBA. That dude's a winner. Like you want a guy like Marcus Smart on your team, and let alone you want him for $5.5 million a year, but you want a guy like that on your team. I remember Marcus Smart in the days with the Boston Celtics. Did they win a championship with Marcus Smart? They didn't. And I know he eventually got traded. I think the trade, if I'm right, the trade that got him over to, it was part of that Porzingis deal. It got Porzingis over to the Boston Celtics. But the Marcus Smart that I used to watch in the playoffs, That dude wasn't afraid of anybody. That dude, it didn't matter his 6'3", 6'4" frame, whatever it was. It reminded me a little bit. It kind of had that meta world peace type of a player. Um, Maybe not as tall, but just as thick. A guy that you weren't going to push around. A guy that added toughness to your team that you wanted. A guy that when you were in the middle of the playoffs, I'm like, yep, I'll take that guy on my team. That's what Marcus Smart was in this league for a long time. It's not his fault that he got traded to two franchises, especially the Washington Wizards, that just had no interest in winning. Now, unfortunately for Marcus Smart, is he hasn't been available. So I think if the conversation, if you're trying to put up some red flags and you're saying to yourself, you know what, I don't know about this deal. Marcus Smart hasn't really been available, this, that. Honestly, it's completely irrelevant because they got him for nothing. Pennies on the dollar. That's what they got Ayton for. That's what they got Marcus Smart for. And there is a tremendous amount of upside with both of these players. And I love this portion. You know, I probably mentioned this a couple times already. The portion that I love the most is the piece that's like, all right, well, they got something to play for. You know, Marcus Smart is going to try to use the Lakers to get his next contract. DeAndre Ayton is going to try to use the Lakers to get his next contract. By the way, the only reason why I'm associating those two players together is just because they were both bought out. And we both know that Ayton's worth more than $8 million a year in the open market. Marcus Smart is worth more than $5.5 million in the open market. That's the only reason why I'm obviously putting these two players together, or at least associating them together. They got something to prove. They really, it's going to be critical for their careers moving forward to show that they still got value in the league, and they're going to be able to do it on a franchise that has LeBron and it has Luka and it's got the Laker brand, it's got attention, and it's got nationally televised games and the Christmas games that are going to be there. I mean, there's going to be mics in front of them and cameras in front of them all season long. So if there's a place for them to prove that they still got a tremendous amount of value, I do think it's going to be able to help with the Lakers. I think the other thing to pay close attention to, Lakers need these players. I mean, you know, sometimes you grab somebody in the buyout market and, you know, yes, essentially you're trying to find the right fit and everything else, but somebody's going to tell me Lakers don't need a player like Marcus Smart. Somebody's going to tell me Lakers don't need a player like DeAndre. They need both of these players. So I think it's a kind of a perfect marriage for both sides. And I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited to have Marcus Smart on this team. I hope I'm not, I hope I'm not trying to be too dramatic about this. And I'm not telling you that the Lakers are now the favorites to go win an NBA championship. But I think what I'm trying to tell you is he's a good fit. And there's zero risk. And oh, by the way, if hypothetically the offseason ended right now for the Lakers, that was it. They don't make any other moves. I'm making this all up. You still got 3 expiring contracts coming up: Rui Hachimura, Maxi Kleber, and Gabe Vincent. You still got Dalton Connect, which I think it's fair to say will probably be dealt in some type of a deal if the Lakers do make a deal. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but just based off of the Lakers obviously dealing him last year. You still got that first rounder. Now, maybe the Lakers are saying to themselves, no, we're going to hold on to some of these assets. We've seen some of these reports about the Lakers are really trying to be strategic about next year in 2027, and that by next year they'll have 3 first rounders. And we know the Lakers, if they got a first rounder, it's like, get rid of it. You ever met those people? Anytime they got money in their pocket, it's gone within 15 minutes. That's the Lakers with draft picks. It's like, we got a draft pick, get rid of it. I don't know. Maybe new ownership has got a little bit different of a mentality of saying, pump the brakes. In today's NBA, you got to value those draft picks. You got to value drafting the right players and developing them and everything else. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, let me look at some of the comments here, see what some people are saying about this signing, and go from there. But what a nice move for the Los Angeles Lakers. I wasn't expecting this on a Saturday, and I've been pumping out these shows and the content every morning. And even yesterday when I was doing the show with BT, I'm doing it with Brad Turner. I'm always in touch with Trevor Lane. We're always talking. And I'm like, come on, this can't be it, right? Like there's got to be more stuff they're going to do, right? This is a nice addition. And again, I'm not trying to tell everybody that this is the best fit, the perfect fit, and that's it. Lakers are now top 2 in the West. I'm not trying to sell you on that. What I am trying to tell you is this is a good addition with absolutely no risk at all for the Lakers. No risk for Marcus Smart as well. Smart off the bench at minimum wage is fine. Please don't go crazy. This is thrift shopping in a luxury league, nothing more. Disagree, North Boreas. I'll tell you why I disagree. If I told you right now Marcus Smart is a free agent. That's before free agency started. Let's say everybody's got, their fair share of money on the books. He's not going for $5.5 million. So I think thrift shopping is trying to get somebody that's valued at $5.5 million. He's not valued at 5.5. That's the difference. Only 31 years old too. So let's not make it sound, I'm probably making it sound like that he's older than he is, but I'm completely comfortable with this. I'm completely okay. I think this also allows the whole Dorian Finney-Smith thing. Okay, he went away. You got Jake LaRavia. You signed him to a deal that's just a 2-year deal, a lot less money, younger. I think this allows you now to have a little bit more flexibility in that position. Is he going to start over Austin Reeves? Probably not. But just the idea and the concept of having another player out there that actually wants to play defense. This dude is a defensive player of the year winner just a couple years ago. We're talking about 3 years ago. So it's not like this, it's not like this guy has never had success in the NBA. He's got a ton of playoff experience. I'm sure there were plenty of times where, LeBron's time in Cleveland or Miami, it's like you got this guy running all over the place. That's what Marcus Smart has been over his career. I got a lot of respect for players like that. I'm a fan of players like that. They lay it out all on the line. I saw a couple Boston people. Who was it? I saw Bill Simmons put something out there. He's like, I got to look at this guy in purple and gold. Keith Smith, who we've had on the show, I'll get him back on the show here coming up pretty soon. He does a great job on YouTube as well, and a couple other outlets as well, and does a show with Trevor Lane. He's a Boston guy, Celtic fan. He's like, I'm gonna puke. It just kind of shows you that those Celtics fans, obviously care about what he was able to do for them. Okay, let's get some more comments in here. By the way, Northbro, we disagree, but I'm still very appreciative of the 10th spot here. Thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for being a part of the channel, and I appreciate the super. Philip, our 3 moves cost us $20 million and no assets lost. Needs were addressed. Great job. Could not do better for the money and no assets lost. Philip, I got to be honest with you. I think this is probably going to be the best comment that I read this entire show, because I think the point that I just want to make sure that we're emphasizing, let's just use the money. Let's use the money that DeAndre Ayton was making last year, and let's use the money that Marcus Smart was making last year. Let's pretend this wasn't buyout. You'd be giving Ayton technically between 30 and 35 million. You'd be giving Marcus Smart closer to $20 million. I'm talking about just take the money that they were earning a year ago. You don't have to pay that. Portland's paying that. Washington's paying that. Lakers are paying a fraction of that. And I think the other point that he mentioned here, no assets lost. These are major needs for the Lakers that they had to address. All right. You just potentially address them to an extent. Again, I still think, I would still say the top 3 didn't change, or the top 4 probably didn't change as far as the Western Conference goes. I do think there's you want to throw Minnesota in there. The Clippers, I don't know where you want to put them. I think I'd put Clippers closer to 4th, but look at Golden State, San Antonio, Dallas. There's all these other teams I think are going to be fighting. And I think the Lakers are in that mix as well. They're also addressing major needs in the process. Philip, I appreciate you. Thank you for the 5 spot, brother. All right. Bonner says Smart hasn't been healthy in the last 3 seasons. You're not wrong about that. He isn't the same from the Celtics. Lakers needed a young defender who can actually hit a 3. I think you got to take what you can get. And I'll tell you what Marcus Smart is, and maybe he's not some of the things that you're talking about there, but Marcus Smart signed. He had a 4-year. I was looking this up before the show started. Let me just make sure what that math was. He had, I think his contract was around 4 years, maybe 75, something like that. He was close to about $20 million a year. Let's call it $19 to $21 million a year. That contract's done after this year. So, yes, Marcus Smart has not been healthy. And frankly, you could sit here and in a couple of months or maybe next season, he only plays 30 games again. And people are like, well, what'd you expect? Look at his last couple of years. Hypothetically, if that's the case, I still don't think there was any risk. And what young defender who can hit 3s right now are the Lakers getting in their position without going out there and actually making a trade and using some of these assets? Get Marcus Smart on your team, get him on your roster, and then go from there. Here's another thing that I think is important, and I think this just kind of tells you I think this means something. Lakers star, this is from Mark Stein. Lakers star Luka Doncic made a direct recruiting pitch to Marcus Smart this week that resonated with the veteran guard. That to me says a lot right there. That Luka Doncic was probably looking at Marcus Smart. He's like, we got a shot at who? We got a shot at Marcus Smart. Let's do everything to bring him in. Let me get on the phone with him. Let me try to see if I could convince Marcus Smart that this is the place that he needs to be at. That don't worry. You don't got to worry about going and creating a shot for yourself. You don't have to worry about, going out there and putting up 20 points a game or anything like that. No, you do what you do best, which is an on-ball defender, one of the toughest dudes in the league. You get to do what it is that you do best. And let me and Austin Reeves and LeBron, we'll worry about the offense. We'll worry about all that other stuff. You don't got to worry about that. You do some of the things that you do best. So I want to make sure I emphasize the fact that Luka was recruiting him, obviously, is a great sign as well. All right, let's get some more of these comments in here. Let's just go straight to the live. All right, we got here, good move. We got, let's see here. Hell yeah, Slee. And then we got bourbon in there. You just do your thing with the bourbon, you know? If you're an MVP member, you can throw some bourbon here on the chat. Let's see. Smart can help Thero's development. There you go. I like that. Obviously, the Lakers' second-round pick we're talking about there. Let me get some more in here. So I'm just going to kind of try to go through here as we go. I'm going to try to go through some of these comments and see what applies. Beal and Reeves are not the same. Beal led in scoring, all-star, future Hall of Famer. Reeves isn't on his level. I think Reeves has done a good job of kind of marking his spot in the NBA and with the Lakers, and we'll see, obviously what he's able to do this upcoming season. He's going to be playing for some money as well, so he's on a contract year. If Marcus shot better, he'd be like our test. Okay? We're not better than the Clippers. I'm not blowing my trumpet, but we're good. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I spent some time kind of talking about the Western Conference. Shaq had a video out, one of his podcasts that he was doing, talking about how he'd be disappointed if the Lakers aren't top 4. I do think the Lakers got better today. I do think that, based off the assets that they still have, I think they will be interesting. But Clippers on paper, they got a really good team. Now, paper doesn't guarantee you anything, but Clippers on paper, that's a solid team. They're a very deep team too. They got depth. Okay, let's get some more in here. Optimal lineup: Luka, Smart, Rui, Braun, and Ayton. Bench: AR, Gabe, DK, Vando, and Hayes. You know what's interesting about the AR to the bench? Would they actually do it? I mean, I was the one. I felt like I was on my own. I was on my own island last year when I kept saying, why'd you just start Dorian Finney-Smith? Just put DFS in there. Then you got a player that actually focuses also on the defensive side. You could help Luka out on the defensive end. He could help the entire team out. And then bring Austin Reeves and let him cook coming off the bench. Now he's going up against guys, the second unit of other teams. And then the way you close out the game is just close out the game. Put the best 5 in and call it a day. But I don't think anybody, I don't know if anybody was with me on that one. I was by myself. I was screaming from the mountaintop. I'm like, I think that might work. Would the Lakers actually put Marcus Smart there? I don't think so. I think that you'll probably still see Austin Reeves starting from that perspective. Not that Austin Reeves is not good enough to start. It's just you're trying to put in, obviously the best team that you can. All right, let's see what else we have here. You and Philip are spot on. Still have our assets and flexibility to make a deal later. Let's go here. No assets lost. DFS. Okay, 2 ways to look at the DFS thing. I'm sure that the Lakers, when they traded for Dorian Finney-Smith, this was back in late December, and they traded, 3 second-rounders. D'Lo was part of the deal. I'm sure they did not think that they were that Dorian Finney-Smith wasn't going to sign with the Lakers. Because if you thought, hey, we're just making this is just a rental, I don't know if that was the smartest move. But I think a lot of people thought that they were going to keep Dorian Finney-Smith, including myself. Technically, if you're talking about no assets lost, if you're talking about him signing somewhere else, you did not lose assets because he was an unrestricted free agent. He signed somewhere else. But if you take the how did you get Dorian Finney-Smith, they lost second rounders. You're right about that. Obviously lost D'Angelo Russell as well, but I think D'Lo was going to be on his way. I don't think D'Lo was going to be staying with the Lakers, but they did lose some second rounders, and that's very fair to point out that they lost some second rounders. Okay, I got some more supers I'm going to get to in just a second. David Sabatini, where is he? His comments are coming in too fast. Slow down, everybody. Can I get a second here? I like it. Great defender. Got some dog in him. Yes, absolutely. He's got some dog in him. Maxwell Lewis, yes, was also part of the DFS trade. Maxwell Lewis, if I'm right, that trade happened and then he got injured right away. But yes, Maxwell Lewis was also part of it. Let's see what we got here. I think the biggest thing for me also was I think the biggest thing for me was I was just surprised that they lost DFS because of his relationship with Luka. So that part was a little surprising. The Grizzlies got rid of him. Washington got rid of dude. Now he's with the Lakers. He's the answer. Man, stop. I think you got to make sure you understand what I'm talking about when I say it. I'm not telling you the Lakers are now the team to beat in the NBA. What I'm telling you is they're better today than they were yesterday. What I'm telling you is I'd rather have Marcus Smart on my team for $5.5 million a year with no strings attached and some long-term contract than not have him. That's the point that I'm making. And I think this is actually kind of a no-brainer, to be honest with you. If anybody's saying that, this is awful, what are the Lakers doing? You're making it sound like, trust me, we've had plenty of signings that have been associated with the Lakers where you're like, what are they doing? Why are they doing that? I don't think this is one of them. I really, really don't believe this is one of them at all, actually. I don't think that's the case at all. All right, I'm going to ask everybody, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask a quick favor here. If you're on the channel, you hang out with me, you've been on Hoops Talk for a while, maybe just the last couple of months, couple of years. Maybe it's the first time you've been here. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Can you please do me a favor and consider being a MVP member? I'm going to put a link right now in the chat. If you want to be an MVP member, literally you just click on that link. It's $3 a month to support the channel, support what I'm trying to do here. And I really appreciate the community that we're building here. We're continuing to grow, closing in on 35,000 subscribers. And I love everything about it. If you don't mind considering it, please click on that link there. Would greatly appreciate as many members as possible. All right, let's keep going here. Let's keep going here. Let me look too. I want to see something here. Sometimes when I'm doing the show and anytime something like this comes out, there's a lot of times where we'll get kind of some new stuff that comes out on X that's adds to the conversation. So let me just see here real quick. Yep. Luka Doncic reached out to Marcus Smart and made it clear that he wanted to play with Marcus Smart per Shams. That's coming off Hoop Central, who aggregated that, took that. Dan Wyke puts out, the Lakers have been hopeful Marcus Smart would be available to them as the team tries to beef up its point of attack defense. Health will be a question, but he possesses a physicality on the perimeter the team needs. So that gives you a little bit of more context there. That one coming from Dan Wyke, who's now part of The Athletic, was with the LA Times. See if we got anything else here. Yeah, I will say Bobby Marks put something out here. Love Bobby. Let's get Bobby Marks on here. The Lakers are $909,000 below the first apron and will need to clear out salary in order to use the $5.1 million biannual exception. The $3 million salary of Shake Milton is set to become guaranteed on Sunday. And then Bobby Marks also put out there the $2.3 million contract of Jordan Goodwin has $25K in salary protection. So gives you a little bit more, just kind of a little bit more of an idea from a math perspective of how all this is happening, how all it's working, and you guys can keep that in mind. Okay. Let's get to some more of your comments here. A lot of good comments here. A lot of action here on the chat. Let's see. I read that one. All right, let's see what we got here. Now make a trade to free some spots. I like Simmons' skill set, even if he's just used as a backup big. Great defender still. Obviously, he's talking about Ben Simmons. I'm okay off that one. I don't think that one really does anything for me, to be honest with you. I don't know if just Ben Simmons will come with. I don't know if it's safe to say drama, this. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But, man, I was such a fan of Ben Simmons back in the day when he was in Philadelphia, and this man just looks like his confidence is completely shot. And I don't know if he's going to ever be able to regain it, to be honest with you. But I'm okay. If that one doesn't happen, I don't got an issue with it. Let's see what we got here. Easy peasy. Thank you, brother. I appreciate the super here. Let's get another one here. Aubrey. Slee, do you think people are discounting what continuity can do for a team? I think people are underestimating this team. Yeah, listen, I think the problem with this team when we went into the postseason, and trust me, I picked the Lakers to beat Minnesota. I picked them in 6 games. And most people thought Lakers were in good shape going in because of what we watched during the playoffs, or I'm sorry, what we watched during the regular season. But I think what happened in the playoffs is they got pushed around. They clearly didn't have enough size. They clearly didn't have enough defense. And you got to figure out ways to address that stuff. I think team chemistry is wildly important. And I think that obviously is a big part to do with how teams are incredibly successful. And I don't know if teams are underestimating the Lakers. I think they were pointing out some real flaws that they had, and now they're slowly but surely trying to address them. And by the way, if people want to make cases, hey, Al, there's a reason why the Blazers didn't want Ayton. Hey, Al, there's a reason why the Wizards didn't want, Marcus Smart. And part of it could also just be the path of where one franchise is going and where another player is going. I don't think that was the case with Ayton. I think Portland was like, yeah, we don't want you near some of our younger players. They didn't believe he loved the game of basketball. I mean, that's according to some of the reports out there. So now it's up to these guys to kind of figure out. It's going to be on their backs. But I don't really question Marcus Smart because I've seen Marcus Smart for most of his career, and he was synonymous with playoff runs and effort and hustle and grit. And I like players like that. So I think that's going to help. I appreciate the super here. What moves do you still want to land the plane? It's interesting. I think at this point, they really don't have many options other than now you go start making moves. Now you actually go start making trades. But let's just pretend this is it coming into the season. If this is it coming into the season, you go Luka, if they keep the same semi-starting lineup. You go Luka, you go Austin Reeves, you go LeBron, you go Rui Hachimura, and you go DeAndre Ayton. Instantly, your size is a lot more because of Ayton. And then off the bench, you're going to have some players that you got to work with. Jake LaRavia, obviously off the bench for the Lakers. Marcus Smart now off the bench for the Lakers. Jared Vando still. Yeah, honestly, I think Vando probably becomes a little bit more expendable too if you want to go make some kind of a move. Still not enough depth for the Lakers. You got Gabe Vincent there. I'm not sure what Maxi Kleber is going to bring to the table. Obviously Jackson Hayes is your backup center. So still not a crazy amount of depth for the Lakers compared to some of these other teams out here in the Western Conference. Bonner, thank you for the super again, brother. Very nice of you. OKC, Rockets, Dallas, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Spurs, and Golden State may be top of conference in no particular order. There's a lot of question marks there as well. I mean, the Golden State Warriors are one of the older teams in the NBA. I don't know what it's going to look like. They're still trying to figure out Jonathan Kuminga and trying to nickel and dime that guy. Poor guy. I want to see Jonathan Kuminga end up somewhere else. You got to be depending on the health of Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler and some of these other guys. The Dallas Mavericks got crazy talent. When's the last time, I think you're always concerned with Anthony Davis and his health. When's Kyrie going to come back? D'Angelo Russell now is going to be there. Cooper Flagg's only 18 years old. The only teams that I could tell you on this list that I'm confident in is OKC, the Rockets, and the Nuggets. And maybe if you want to sell me on the Timberwolves, I'm listening because they've got to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. All right, let's keep going on some of these supers. We got a lot of them here. Let's try to get through them. Although we lost 3 second-round picks with DFS, this is Dean. Dean, thank you very much for the super, brother. Although we lost 3 second-round picks with DFS leaving, but if we have to trade Ayton, Jake LaRavia, and Marcus Smart, I bet we're getting more than 3 second-round picks. That's another way to look at it. Sure, it's another way to look at it. I think the DFS thing, it just came down to Lakers thought to themselves, let's get a cheaper, younger version, and they got that in Jake LaRavia. And then they also got, obviously Marcus Smart in the mix here. So this isn't a good comp. This is not a good example. But when free agency started and Brook Lopez was gone and Clint Capella was gone, and I felt like there were a lot of people overreacting to it. I'm like, guys, relax. They're probably going to end up. I mean, the news was already out there that they got the buyout was going to come for DeAndre Ayton. I think in their minds, they were saying to themselves, we'd rather have Ayton on a 1 year, potentially 2 year deal than Brook Lopez or then Clint Capella. There was more upside with Ayton. And I think with the Jake LaRavia, Marcus Smart, maybe the Lakers were just saying, we don't want to give that much money over to DFS. I thought it was 4 years guaranteed, and then we end up finding out really 2 years is guaranteed, and then there's other stipulations. So the DFS contract actually is not as bad as I thought it'd be in Houston. I'm not even saying bad as in he's a bad player, but he's 32, and if you were giving him a 4-year deal, I wouldn't be crazy about that. Dean, thank you for the super. I mentioned Bonner, thank you. A couple of these others that have been throwing in some supers, thank you very much. Run Boy Prod, thank you, brother. 20 spot. Thank you very much for doing that. Really, really appreciate that. I get it that Lakers need every player. I'm taking notice that there's more ways to find players now that we have 3-on-3 league, Fox, and Summer League. I don't think they'd be to rush. Not 100% sure. I get it that Lakers need every in players. I'm taking notice that there's more ways to find players here now. Also have 3-on-3. I think if what you're saying is there's other options than the NBA, well, NBA is obviously going to be first. If you're saying that the summers are a little bit different now and guys aren't signing as quick, I think guys aren't signing as quick just because of the CBA, just the way the collective bargaining agreement is now. There's still a lot of restricted free agents that are in a complete standstill. Josh Giddey, Jonathan Kuminga. And what's also happened in the NBA, you're either getting all the money or you're getting none of the money. Now, imagine having a job where none of the money is 2 years, $11 million. I think all these players are doing fine, but there's guys that are signing for $60 million, and then there's guys that are signing for $5 million. So there's a big difference in today's NBA than the way it was run in the past. A lot of the in-between guys aren't getting opportunities. Run Boy, thank you very much. I hope I answered that question or did your comment here, but thank you for the 20 spot. I appreciate it very much, brother. Let's get another one. Slee, do you think that Luka approaching Smart isn't a sign that he is signing that extension? I think he's signing the extension. I don't think there's been anything out there to indicate that he's not signing that extension. I think when Luka put out the statement when the new ownership group took over and basically said, looking forward to working with Genie and also working with Mark Walters and his new group and winning championships is what he said. It was like, yeah, he ain't going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. I don't believe he's going to be going anywhere. And I think his next chapter in his career, Dallas was probably, his heart and his love. And I feel like the Lakers is going to be all business. He's going to come to LA. He's going to make as much money as he can. He's going to try to be a legend. And the only way you can become a legend playing for the Lakers is you got to win championships or at least a championship. And we'll see what he's obviously able to do over the years. Pablo or Fabio, thank you very much for the super. I appreciate that, brother. Let's see what else we have here. Luka has already signed. Not yet, but, we'll see what happens here. Luka's a good dude. He was going to stay in Dallas. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't think he was trying to get out of Dallas. I don't think he was. But things happen, and I'm sure he got, whatever his view was of the league and the NBA, he found out after Dallas traded him that, all right, this is business is a little bit different here. Hey, Alan, do you think the Lakers are still in the running for CP3? He wanted to be in LA this season. John, I think it's almost a lock. CP3 is going to end up with the Clippers. Almost a lock. And I saw some reports here a little bit earlier as well. I saw some reports. Let's see if I see anything different here. But there were some reports a little bit earlier that basically the Clippers they're in a position to sign him and that he has kind of the intention of signing. And I think at some point here, we'll just eventually see that he ends up with them. And then they'll have their, there's another player that they're adding to their team and they'll be old as hell, but they're going to have a hell of a lot of talent. Okay. I want to give a quick shout out here. As you guys know, I got some partners here that are a part of the show, and I'm very appreciative of that. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. So thank you very much for them. It's kind of funny, and I'm not surprised by this at all. This happens very often. One of my texts today, right when this was all going down, it's Brad Wallace. He's like, Marcus Smart, just a link, almost as if he's helping a brother out here. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. They are injury attorneys. If you're ever in a position, it's probably a very daunting, intimidating process. You don't know where the hell to start. You need an injury attorney. It's a serious injury. Maybe it's a family member that was in a tough position or a situation or a wrongful death case. All I could tell you is we created a URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. You can go to that website, get an absolutely free consultation. He could help anybody in the state of California. Him and I have known each other for about 5 years. I brought him on the podcast before. Loves Lakers. He's a big supporter of the channel. And certainly he can help somebody if you're in need. So again, the website, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Shout out to him for being a part of the show. And thank you for you guys of just being so accepting to some of our partnerships. It's a great way for, obviously the channel's growth. So thank you for that. Okay, let's keep rolling here. How long are we going today, guys? Get to more of these comments here. I want to try to get to as many of these as possible, and then we're all gonna get the hell out of here and try to enjoy the rest of our day. Okay, let's see what we have here. I don't want CP3 or Beal. Well, you're going to get both of them, and they're both going to end up with the opposite team. So don't worry, you're not going to get them. They'll both end up in LA, and they'll both end up on another team. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Last year, without a center, we ranked 3rd. This time around, I think they'll end up 4th. So weird. It just, none of that made any sense. Someone want to make me make sense of Lakers trade Anthony Davis, Max Christie, who was a really nice on-ball defender as well and kind of working his way up. And then the Lakers were successful on defense. None of it made sense. I've said this before, and I give the man a lot of credit. Amin El-Hassan came on my show, and this was when it was not popular to say that the Lakers are going to struggle in the playoffs. He said it. He was on an island. And he was right. Lakers, the size wasn't there. Coaching certainly wasn't there. So I think there's a now you kind of the problem was so glaring. Now you can actually address it. Marcus definitely helps move the needle. He's a very strong, hard-nosed, and fearless defender. His work ethic and attitude should rub off on the other players. We really miss KCP and Caruso. I think that, the biggest question is going to come down to, and a lot of people point this out, and I don't blame you guys for pointing it out. I agree that you guys are pointing it out. Availability. Just, it's going to come down to, is he available for the Lakers to go and have a real impact this season? And we'll obviously have to wait and see. The least surprising buyout. This is David Aldridge on Twitter. The least surprising buyout this cycle was finalized Saturday with the Wizards and Marcus Smart reaching an agreement to release the 31-year-old who's expected to sign with the Lakers for their biannual exception after clearing waivers. I'm not telling you that, the greatest game plan in the offseason is to hope that you can get guys in the buyout market. But what I am telling you is when you have specific needs like the Lakers have, you're trying to also balance the future with competing today and not having a hell of a lot of assets to go make deals. Those assets are so important. You want to obviously try to hold on to them for as long as you can. And Lakers obviously found a way to do that and still at the same time were able to address a need. Okay, so let me point out a couple things here. We'll read a couple more comments and we're going to call it a day. I don't want to go too much further. Let everybody go enjoy the rest of their Saturday. But a couple of things to just kind of keep in mind here as the rest of the offseason continues. The question now is going to be for the Lakers, are they able to use any of the players they have in a trade that makes sense? And, what I mean by that, and I'm not sitting here trying to tell you throw every player out there and see what you can get back. What I'm telling you is Rui Hachimura, do you believe Rui Hachimura is going to be a Laker next year? Because if he's not going to be signing a new deal with you, or you don't feel like, and I have no problem with Rui Hachimura. I think Rui's got some value. But the expiring contracts of Rui or Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleba, or is Vando a player that you feel comfortable with for the next couple of years? I think that's going to be the question for the Lakers. Do they look at the assets that they have right now and say to themselves, all right, let's just start the season with what we got and then see where we are by the time January 1st rolls around? And that gives you about a month before the trade deadline. Or are they still active? I do feel like it's been a little bit quiet. You haven't really heard too much from the front office. Things along, not quiet from a news front. There's always stuff going on around the Lakers. But it will be interesting to kind of see the way the rest of this all pans out for the Lake Show. But I think as of now, as we sit here today, got to be honest, I don't hate where they are. I don't hate the players that they added. And I'm not going to tell you that this is perfect. And I'm not going to tell you that, this is ideal in their top 2 or top 3 in the Western Conference, but I'm interested. I think they're definitely better. They're definitely better than they were last season, and they're definitely better today than I thought they were a year ago. Or I'm sorry, before they got Marcus Smart. Okay, my people, I appreciate it. Went about 45 minutes. Hopefully this was good content and informative and everything else. Appreciate everybody hanging out, the chat doing what it does. Thank you to everybody that's obviously threw in one of those supers. Really, really kind of you guys to do that, and I greatly appreciate that. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday. I'm assuming we're not doing anything today and tomorrow. That's the assumption. But I will be back on Monday morning at 8 a.m., and we'll get started again, and we'll continue to obviously talk NBA and talk a little Los Angeles Lakers basketball and go from there. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Hope you guys have a great Saturday. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you guys on Monday. Thank you.